What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Jason Moloney versus Vincent Astrolabio, and this was a 12-rounder for the vacant WBO Bantamweight Championship of the World. And this fight was Saturday, May 13th from the Stockton Arena in Stockton, California. And this fight was broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or in the ESPN app. And in this fight, Jason Moloney was able to fulfill his dream of becoming a world champion, as he was able to defeat Vincent Astrolabio by majority decision. So I personally scored this bout 116 to 112 in favor of Jason Moloney. The three judges did have pretty close scoring. One judge had it a draw at 114-114, which is crazy. Another judge had it very close at 115-113, and then the third judge agreed with my scorecard at 116 to 112. For Moloney. So Moloney 100% won this fight. I definitely don't think it was a draw at all. I actually think that I had really the closer end of the spectrum for scoring on this fight. I really think the max you could have given to Astrolabio was 4 rounds. And I was kind of being generous a bit. I mean, it most likely was probably like a 117-111 type fight. But if you were watching it, comment down below how you did score it. Just to get straight into how I did have it, the first 2 rounds I thought were definitely Moloney rounds. He was landing some nice counters on the outside, boxing nicely, jabbing. Then in the third round, this was one of the rounds I did give to Astrolabio. He was pressing nicely, landing some nice power shots on Moloney. Was hitting him very hard with some nice shots. But then in rounds 4, 5, and 6, I gave them all to Moloney again for just boxing better. I mean, Astrolabio was very sloppy with his defense, very sloppy with his offense too. Wasn't really doing much offensively that was efficient. So I gave Moloney those rounds because he was jabbing nicely, laying some nice counter left hooks, timing Astrolabio a bit. But the rounds weren't dominant and super clear in favor of Moloney, but Moloney was just doing more. He was landing more. That's the thing. Astrolabio was throwing a decent amount, but he wasn't really landing much of it. And if he did, it would most likely be partially blocked by Moloney. But then in round 7 and 8, round 7 was a very close round. That was one of the rounds I did give to Astrolabio. It was really close. Both of them had their moments. I just thought that Astrolabio came forward a bit and was pressuring better. But round 8 I definitely thought was an Astrolabio round. He landed a very good left hook on Moloney towards the end of the round, which sort of swayed it in his favor. It was a pretty quiet round, but that left hook swayed it. But then rounds 9, 10, and 11 were really key rounds for Moloney. He was jabbing really, really well. He was boxing really, really well. Those were 100% clear rounds, in my opinion, for Moloney. Jabbing very good. Timing, Astrolabio coming in. Just sticking that jab out there, keeping him at bay. I mean, he did really, really well in those later rounds. But then around 12, Moloney stepped his foot off the gas pedal. Astrolabio was just coming forward with sloppy shots, but he did much, much more than Moloney in that round compared to the entire fight. So I did give Astrolabio that round, despite it being not really technical boxing at all or the sweet science or anything. I mean, he was just brawling, trying to land a big shot because he knew he was losing. But yeah, he definitely won that round. Moloney didn't really do much, just tried to evade getting caught with one shot and knocked out in the last round. But in the end, a very solid performance from Moloney, showed that he has some very good technique in there. So yeah, now he is the WBO World Bantamweight Champion. This goes into question, what is next for him? So I believe his record is now 26-2. Still has 19 knockouts. He challenged for a world title a few years ago. Again, he challenged for the IBF world title a few years ago in the World Boxing Super Series. He did lose that fight by split decision. But, a few years later, now he's fulfilling his dream, becomes a world champion. So for Moloney, I expect him to have his first title defense in the next few months. I could expect them to be doing what they did with Janibek Alimkhanuly, who's fighting in the main event, when he won the world title. They put him up against some fighters that he'll 100% win against. Janibek faced Denzel Bentley, Danny Dignam, guys like that, just destroyed him, just easy guys to get past. And I think that's what they'll do with Moloney. They'll put him up against fighters that are ranked in the WBO, have decent spots in the rankings, but that will obviously get passed by the commission, passed by the sanctioning bodies for him to fight and defend his titles against. And I would definitely expect his next title, or his first title defense, to be in his home country of Australia. That'd be very big for him, coming back to his home country, to his home fans, with a world title. So I could definitely expect that for his next fight, or his second title defense, who knows, depending on if his first title defense is a hard one or not. But I don't really think it will be. I think he'll face a guy that he'll definitely be able to beat in his next fight. But as for Vincent Astrolabio losing here, I believe it's now his fourth loss of his career, I want to say. So yeah, I mean, he fought this fight. He didn't really fight a good fight at all. He was very sloppy most of the rounds. Didn't really have a good output with his shots. Threw a lot of shots. Didn't really land much compared to how much he threw. But I mean, for him, I think he's gonna, because he's sort of on. He was sort of on like a high road after he defeated Guillermo Rigondeaux and then got that win on, I believe it was one of the PBC cards the past few months ago. So he was on a good little run. So I think that he's definitely going to be used on one of these big platforms because he is still a very solid fighter. Definitely like top 10, top 15 in the bantamweight division as of now. So I mean, I definitely think that either Showtime, PBC, or like Top Rank and ESPN will definitely put him on again as in a very good bantamweight bout. Probably against someone who's like a top 10, top 15 contender, maybe for an eliminator. Who knows? Something like that could be next for Astrolabio. So overall, Jason Moloney becomes the new WBO World Champion, defeating Vincent Astrolabio by majority decision. Although it did should have been a unanimous decision for Moloney, but overall a very good display of Moloney's jabs, his jabbing, his counter shots, overall on the outside, showing that he could definitely prove to be a very solid champion in this weight class, now bringing the world title back to Australia. And to get that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.